Okay, now it's time for the wrap up. We're going to go over key points, review resources, and talk about where you can find support. So, for a submission summary, let's start with the file submission. End of year one requires the sync, the SIRS, the SOLVE, that's discipline, the STAS, which is absenteeism, the SPRIG, which is student programs, the CELA, which provides English learner acquisition status for end of year, that's your RFEPs, the LEAP file, LEA program files, which is your expanded learning programs, and the SENR, that's your cumulative enrollment and the exits needed to complete the STAS record, as well as your students with disability 1 year graduate and dropout counts. The behavioral incidents for students with disabilities require end of year one to be approved by the CELPA. So again, you have to include your special education data coordinators and your CELPA with end of year one. The end of year one data is reflective of the entire academic year. STAS exemptions are submitted in the STAS record. Every primary and short-term enrolled student must have a STAS record. Exemptions are a yes or no value. No student with a primary or short-term enrollment can be missing a STAS record. They are exempted from absence and attendance calculations. STAS records should not be reported for NPS students. Students that have a program 191 during the year will be counted as homeless regardless of their current living situation. Homeless records must be exited annually. That's a change this year. Students participating in attendance recovery are reported through the STAS file. So your AR days are in each student's STAS record. Students who are enrolled in the expanded learning program will be reported through the new LEAP file. It is preferred that newly determined RFEP students are reported before May 30th, 2026. All student enrollment records must be exited at the end of the year. However, do not submit a student exit record if they are still testing for CAS, LPAC, or you're still waiting for special education to send updates to CALPADS. Remember, your special education graduates must have their students with disability status extend 1 day past graduation. So exit the student first, and the day after, update the status. All right, let's look at the suggested milestones. Now, we cannot dictate your timeline. You should all be developing your own timelines. However, you can use these suggested milestones to kind of draft a path of success. So currently, whenever you're reviewing this recording, you should be completing data population in your local system. That can occur at any time, even before the snapshot begins. Once the snapshot begins, we expect you to go on to other things. You can also, if your data is populated in your local SIS, submit files to CalPads, even if they're not complete data sets. You can overwrite the data later, but by submitting the files now, you can test out to see if you have any DDs. Perhaps CalPads DDs are not all triggering and you can identify bugs. But either way, you're making your final submission smoother by submitting files in advance. The snapshot. We would expect you all to be submitting files and populating data in CalPads until 6/12 or until you have your final records available. This, of course, depends on when your school year ends. 615 to 626, in a perfect world, you would be reviewing certification errors and resolving data discrepancies, looking at snapshot reports and updating records as needed. At 626, this is the recommendation date for 0 errors. Of course, the academic year is still not over. And if you're a district that goes the full length of the academic year, perhaps your last day is 630. This is just recommended for all districts, not used specifically. You have to make your own timelines, but the recommended date for every LEA in California would be 626. 629 to 710, right? We expect you to send your reports to your local stewards, your stakeholders, those responsible for the data groups. 713 to 717, that final week of certification is a time set aside for you to make your last minute checks, talk to your SELPA, have them review the reports, and certify. Now, 718 to 731 is an amendment window. This is a chance for you to make any updated changes, review your reports. Perhaps you have summer graduates and you need to update those records. So after 717, there is an amendment window between 718 and 731. This is an opportunity to make any last minute changes and corrections. You will only know to make these changes and corrections if you've been reviewing your report. So that brings the importance of certifying by the initial deadline so you can work and review that data thinking that it's locked in and it's permanent. And then it gives you a chance after reviewing the data, after looking at the counts, to make amendments. If you've missed the initial deadline and try to only certify at the amendment deadline, you're leaving yourself exposed for dashboard mistakes, misreported uh, expulsion rates, suspension rates. You have not reviewed your reports. You have not made your estimates. So we reviewed the resources earlier, but we will point you to the CALPADS User Manual. That's a repository you can get anywhere from the user manual. There's probably not a CALPADS resource that isn't linked to from the user manual. Of course, the CALPADS system and documentation page, the CSIS YouTube training channel, and then, of course, register for training at the CSIS website. So when you're looking for support, we always recommend you use the web form. It's the fastest way to contact us. It gives the most amount of eyes a chance to see your inquiry. You can send the email, but that's a little bit slower than the web form because eventually the emails are auto-generated and transcribed and put into our system. It takes a while. It's on some kind of timer, who knows. Your phone call, you can call us, but no one will ever answer. The phone calls are transcribed into emails, therefore, are waiting for a queue. It's just another level of hesitation or delay. And then last we show you here is the FCMAT CSIS listserv. It's a two-way listserv. The CDE uses it, CSIS staff uses it, and LEAs use it to talk amongst themselves. Where the CDE CalPads listserv is one way, is where you get your flash messages, special announcements. The CSIS listserv lets you talk to members of the CalPads community. So if you have a student information system and a said system combination and another district has the same combination, if there's any interfacing or talking or challenges, you all would have the same theoretically, and you could work amongst each other. It's a great way to find support and borrow from the experienced mind of those who've been submitting data to CalPads for several years. So last but not least, I want to say thank you. Thank you for your attendance. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for taking your time to review this training video. We greatly appreciate it. But more importantly, we appreciate what you're doing for the students enrolled in California school districts.